up?
Hey.
All right, this is Mourning Coffee with Brooke, and today with David. So, should I turn off the music?
I don't know. Sure.
I kind of like the music intro, but it gets going in a second. There we go. We'll just jam while people join our live stream.
Drink some.
And drink. All right, I'll turn it off. We'll lose the music. All right, guys, what's up? So, Mourning Coffee. This is a new thing. I'm giving it a whirl, doing a live stream. We'll see how it goes. So the plan is weekly. It'll either be me and a special guest. And it's honestly just a super casual chat to talk about grief stuff. And you are welcome to chime in the comments and let me know if you have any questions. If you have any questions for our guest, anything that you want to talk about. And yeah, we'll just see what happens.
All right.
It's woefully underprepared.
Yeah. Dangerous a little bit too.
Yeah, a little dangerously underprepared. I really don't know what I'm talking about all that much. So, I mean, not that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I have nothing planned really. So we'll kind of see what happens. Yeah. All right. Okay. So we're gonna start with what we are drinking because it's morning coffee, but I'm the only one drinking coffee. So this is my protein coffee. This is what I drink every time pretty much I'm on camera, and I have it every single morning, and it's delicious, but it barely tastes like coffee, honestly.
It's not really coffee.
It's more like minty chocolate milk with a little bit of coffee in it, I would say.
Yes.
All right.
I would agree.
You can explain what you're drinking.
I'm just drinking some Earl Grey with some honey. It's every day.
Disgusting tea.
No, it's good.
People actually drink tea?
Yes.
That don't
There's
live
a
in
whole
England?
country that loves it.
I know. Yeah. People watch Ted Lasso. I'm Ted Lasso. Like,
no.
it's like dirty water. Super gross. Do you still put like 10,000 tons of sugar in it?
No, I use honey.
That's it?
Honey is it.
What? Oh, yeah, that's an improvement.
Yeah. Unless I run out of honey. And then I got to put something else in it.
He used to put like so much sugar. It's like your teeth are going to fall out of your head.
It's from the peppermint and whipped cream and chocolate lady.
It is sugar-free whipped cream. And the peppermint extract doesn't have any sugar in it.
Okay.
It's designed to be healthy.
All right.
Yeah. With a protein shake that is also sugar-free. So
excellent. Mine's honey. It's all natural.
That's my healthy beverage. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, we should probably talk about
grief.
Okay, so if you don't know who David is from watching my videos, he is the star of my #1 video on YouTube, which I think we're almost at like 18,000 views.
Wow.
And still, it was like, is it over a year ago?
Yeah, well, at least.
Yeah. It was over a year ago, and it is still my #1 watched video every single week, which is kind of crazy. So you've got some
every week. People
every week, yeah, every week when I check my analytics, that is the #1 watched video. So
people like to see men cry.
People like you, yeah. People do like to see men cry. It's good to see men cry.
It is. It's healthy.
I've had lots of people tell me that too. So
yeah.
Anyway, so yes, the star of my #1 video. Welcome back. If you don't know, David is Libby's father and my ex-husband.
Awkward.
It's weirdly unawkward, honestly. So yeah, here we are. But we, doing our thing. We get along, I think, better than a lot of divorced couples. But that's probably because of my parents.
Yeah, we had very different experiences with divorce. My parents are divorced too, but theirs was very amicable and focused on us as the kids and being the primary thing. And that was important to us when we got divorced. So, and I think we did a good job with it.
I think so too. If you don't know, my parents were divorced and it was horrible, like horrible. And I was the middle child, and I had to be the go-between between my parents, like keeping the peace between them, because my mom would not communicate with my dad, would not be anywhere where he was, wouldn't be in the same room with him. So she missed pretty much everything in our lives, like every big event. She didn't go to weddings or birthday parties. You know, she missed our kids' birthday parties, all because she wouldn't be anywhere near my dad. So
that, or we did have, sometimes we coordinated it where she would hide down the road, and then
yeah, it was a giant pain in the butt.
Brooke's
So
dad left, we'd call her and be like, "You can come now."
yeah,
You know,
so it's safe. The
silly-
coast is clear. It was
silly
ridiculous.
stuff.
And I always had to be the middleman, and I hated it. So it was like yeah, not enjoyable. So it taught me what not to do when I got divorced. So yes, we just sort of vowed like we are never doing that to our kids, and put the kids first.
Right.
And yeah, and just sort of stayed friends. Ooh, Electric Gummy. Hi. Good morning. I don't know if you want me to say your name. I know who you are, but hello. It is good to see you, and I hope my advice was helpful this week. So yeah. All right. So we are going to talk, I guess, grief. And the one thing we did know that we wanted to talk about is the idea of the second year and how it compares to the first year.
Yeah.
So there's kind of different camps. Some people think the first year is the hardest, and once you get through all those firsts, that things get a little bit easier. And a lot of people say the second year is the worst because everything's kind of, the shock has worn off, and then it's just really realizing that your person is gone. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think that's that was one of the big things. I know early on we went to a couple group sessions for grief for parents, and that was one of the things that people said was like the second year is a lot worse. And I was sitting there thinking, no,
how could it be worse?
Yeah,
how could it freaking be worse?
Now, keep in mind, Brooke and I went into that session very early, like even to the point where the people in that group said it's maybe a little too early for you to be here. But
yeah,
Brooke is someone who has to research and dive into it. So we did, and it was good. It was definitely a different perspective. You know, meeting parents that had lost their kids at, you know, infancy all the way up to like in their 40s and stuff like that. So to realize what it helped me realize, I think, that grief is not one size fits all.
Oh,
grief is very different. You know, I remember thinking, how can you compare, you know, an infant that was lost, you know, 3 months? You don't even know. They don't even have a personality at that point, really, a whole lot, you know, in my mind. That's what I was thinking. But what I didn't think about was the dreams, you know, all the dreams that we had for Libby, you know, at 10, all the things that we wanted to see her do. Those parents lost everything. We got 10 years. They got nothing. So it's all very different. Grief is different for everybody, regardless of whether it's a child or a parent. You know, you have, it's all about the relationship you have with the person that you've lost.
Yeah.
And that really, that kind of sets the tone for everything.
All the grief stuff that I've learned, I have definitely learned, because I think at the beginning, you kind of, like I said, when we were new to it and we went to those groups, it was very easy to be judgmental and look at other people and be like, wait, like your child was like 30 something, 40 something, like you got all that time. That can't possibly be as bad as us. And the same thing with like, you know, the miscarriages and the infant loss. It's like, well, you didn't even get to know your child. And then, yeah, from doing all of my grief work and the more parents that you meet that have lost children, and even people who have lost, I mean, not even child related, like I learned with for me, Libby's death was so much more difficult than losing my parents. But I'm sure a lot of that is because I didn't have the kind of relationship that some people do with their parents, you know, like there are people, I know lots of people that talk to their mom on the phone every single day. And multiple times a day, and that was never me. But I can imagine now, like, losing that relationship. So everyone's grief is so personal. Like, I've definitely learned not to judge.
No.
My grief is worse or better than yours. Your grief is your own grief. It's all there's no better or worse. It all just sucks. It all makes you feel the same way.
Yeah, and there's a big difference too. I think the other thing that I recognized in talking with people is people who lose somebody suddenly versus a long-term type thing. Like, that's a very different thing. And we've talked about it before. Like, is it better to not have those moments to say goodbye, or is it better to just be gone? I don't know.
I still don't know. And I mean, they both suck. So
yeah, it's
I mean, I did the long-term thing with my mom.
Right. You had both with your dad. Nobody knows.
My dad we had no idea that he he died of a heart attack on the side of the road. Total surprise. No early indicators that was going to happen. It was just he seemed invincible, and then he was gone. But then my mom with her pancreatic cancer, just long drawn out chemo and radiation and surgeries and constant appointments, and then the whole way to hospice, and having to make the decision, what to do with her, because she was never going to be the same. It was just, they're both terrible. They really are. That's why I said you can't judge. They're terrible in different ways. And I honestly don't know which.
I don't either.
I don't know that one is better than the other. I think they are just both terrible.
And then you've got a different one too. Like my cousin passed away. He wasn't feeling well. Went into the doctor, got diagnosed with leukemia at 46, 47, and within a week he was dead. So it's like you get a little bit of time, but it shouldn't be happening to a 46, 47-year-old. It just shouldn't be happening. And she says to me all the time, like, am I doing it right? Look, there is no right.
There is no right.
It's whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Do you. That's really what you have to do. And we talked about second year. I'm 100% feeling that. I thought it was something that, I couldn't feel any worse, but I've found new ways to feel worse.
Yeah. So. Okay. So let's get into that. So like we were saying, when we did go to those early grief groups, it definitely was like, they warned us, but we're like, when you're in that, you're thinking there's no possible way that it could get worse than this first year. But yet somehow life just keeps on giving. And it's a different kind of worse. They're both terrible. But I think in that second year, like I said, the shock wears off.
The shock wears off, and I think the reality sets in. You that first year, you're still in this kind of newness, almost like a relationship where, it's all new and it's not exciting per se, but it's all happening for that first time. And then that second year hits in and you're like, wow, this is my life now. Like it's not the same. And, we've had some very significant changes, since Libby passed in that second year, both of us moving.
That's what I was going to say. So talk us through some of the reasons why it's worse.
So, we have the two boys. They're both older. Max is going to be 21 in January. He's graduated school. He's he's an adult, and it's kind of weird.
Are you crying already? Already? We need to clock that one.
Yeah,
how long? I'm just kidding. He's a crier.
I am.
Which I really love about you. So that's good. Cry away.
No, but it's
I'll be totally stoic and jokey the entire time, and then after I turn off the camera, then I'll cry.
Yeah. No, it's a pride thing. That's what gets me with Max. Like he's such a good kid. He's had to deal with this, and to see where he's at now is just pride. That's what it is. So I like seeing that. And that that's a completely different thing for us. You know, we thought we were going to have Libby for years. We didn't think we were done with the little kids.
Yeah.
And it's gone.
Yeah.
Just like
so
that.
just for reference, if there's anyone that's watching this that doesn't know, because we keep sort of
Jumping.
referencing and jumping to this. So our 10-year-old daughter, Libby, died in a car accident, and our son, Max, who was 18 at the time, was driving the car. And it was pronounced his fault, basically, because he ran through a stop sign at a busy intersection and they were hit by a truck. But there's more to the story than that, because he drives like a grandma. Like, people ask all the time, like, are you angry at him? How do you deal with that, situation with your son going through the stop sign and your daughter dying? And I tell people with Max, it's so easy not to feel anything, because he is such a good kid. He is a giant teddy bear. He was so anal about his car, like making sure everything was running correctly, making sure everything was safe. And what happened was his check engine light came on and it freaked him out. So he had called you, right, to see what he should do, because he didn't want to drive with the check engine light on. And David had told him to pull into a farmer's market that was right across the street from where they got hit. And he must have just been distracted and
it was
trying to get there.
Yeah, there's definitely distraction. Between the lights and stuff that were coming on his car, he and I were on the phone. We were just getting ready to hang up. I hear Libby scream. Next thing you know, the phone goes dead. And that was, again, is an accident. I thought that from day one. I didn't, when you go to that location, you can tell, the only way it happens is Max pulls out in front of the truck. We knew that from the beginning, that it had to be Max's fault. But all we ever told him was it was an accident. And I tell him now, I would put her back in the car with him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think
I would have
about
done it the next day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had a second thought.
No.
He's just that kind of kid.
Yeah. He's always been a good driver. It just was an accident. It sucks, but it was an accident, and one that unfortunately he's somewhat has to live with for the rest of his life, So that'll play into it. But that going kind of back to what we were talking about, it's just, from that moment, your life changes dramatically. That first year, the first everything, going through the funeral, it's all a whirlwind. For us, we were dealing with insurance, and I'm sitting there thinking, like,
shit you have to do.
What do I don't want any of this to do with anything. But at the end of the day, we were given a settlement from the insurance company, and that was not something that we were looking for whatsoever. It was just part of my policy. My Max was on my insurance, and that allowed us to start Live Like Libby. It gave us a little bit of a starting fund there. Brooke and I obviously used some of that money as well to pay off some debts and things like that, and to buy new houses. And for me,
makes it sound like we
no,
we by no means got rich from this settlement. It could have been where we could have.
No, I didn't buy a house with all cash.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
I put a down payment on
still got a mortgage.
Yeah.
We could have gone after, I guess, the truck driver, because there was an issue with his car, but the police told us that issue did not cause the accident, and it would basically just be money chasing.
Yeah.
And he felt terrible. Obviously,
and he was going 10 miles under the speed limit.
He did everything he was supposed to do, so we didn't feel comfortable with that. So yeah, we just got what we got from his insurance policy for Max. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that we're by no means buying houses.
Right.
I paid off debt basically with.
Right. We were able to again, we look, it's hard because I look at it as here's Libby still providing for us. We were both
Absolutely.
obviously single parents. When we separated, I was living with my mom and her husband for 3 years. And that was not a plan. That was not what I wanted to do. I appreciate my mom and her husband allowing me to stay there, but that wasn't my plan. I wanted to have a house where I could take the kids. And that leads to this year and the changes of, Max graduating college, getting a real job, being an adult, Grayson graduating high school, living now currently in my basement, and me settling into life and a life in a house that I would not be able to afford had I not gotten the money from Libby's death. And right now I sit in my house by myself because the boys kind of do their own thing, and I've got too much time to think. And I sit there and think, wow, you've got this great house and you have nobody to really share it with. I mean, the boys are there, but they're not. And if Libby were alive, she'd be sitting right beside me, and we wouldn't be there. We'd be out doing something, but I would be able to enjoy that house with Libby.
Yeah.
And I can't because she's not there. And then I go to a completely worse place where I say, oh, you got this house with blood money. That's how I look at it.
Oh.
And so that's where I'm struggling a lot right now. Like I had an idea of what.
I didn't know that you felt that way.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. So it's.
See, I look at it like, I mean.
I do. I can look at it as. I
used all the money to pay off debt, which was like lifting 1,000-pound weight off of my shoulders because I had, I went through a second divorce and that cost money. I mean, it was a whole thing. And it was like, here we go, Libby doing more for me,
Right. and I do see that as well. I look at it that way at times too, but then there, I'll be thinking that part of it where I think, oh, Libby, I wouldn't have this without you. I love you. I miss you. I wish you were here with me. I wish we were, watching Big Hero 6 together again, and we can't. And that's where it goes to the guilt of, I wouldn't have any of this if it weren't for her. And I can look at it one side logically going, this is her just, still providing, and it sucks, but it's okay. It's what happened in life.
Yeah.
To the other side of it, which is, well, you wouldn't have this if she weren't dead. And that sucks. And that's a lot of what I've been struggling with a lot lately. The houses, I go home to my house after work and I don't have anybody else in the house. Like I said, the boys are there, but they're not there. They're teenage or 20-year-olds.
He's getting the taste of living with the teenage boys now.
Yeah. And again, it's not, they're adults at this point. I don't need them. I don't need them to hang out with me all the time. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't have a relationship. I'm not in a relationship with anybody. And so, besides you coming over once a week for watching a show or something that we do, I go out with friends, but I don't have somebody that is there with me on a day-to-day basis. And that I'm struggling with that idea, but not that I want a relationship, but I want Libby there instead.
Libby, you want Libby.
Yeah,
I'm the same way.
Was I'm not looking for a relationship. I want my daughter back. I want my daughter sitting beside me or with me to enjoy this house. Yeah. And I don't, that was always the plan. I knew the boys would potentially be gone. And when I was thinking about my long-term plan, after we got divorced, it wasn't, oh, I'm going to buy a house and it's going to be the boys and Libby and I hanging out and have this place to go. It was more, the boys are going to be gone.
The boys are,
because of their age.
Well, and they were already kind of doing their own thing.
Right.
When she died, so
you had the bigger house. I wasn't expecting to buy, anything exorbitant. I needed a room for them to crash if they wanted to, but I needed a room for Libby. That was always my thought process, was Libby was the one that needed a place to go and come visit with me.
Yeah.
And now I have this place and I don't have Libby, and it's fucking stupid. It's
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's you have to understand, Lib's like, she made everything better. She wasn't, and I know she was 10, and everybody can think like, yeah, when your kid's 10, they still want to hang out with you, but like she was just different. And like if you met her, you'd understand, like she wanted to be with people. Like she loved to do stuff with us. If I was running errands, like she would come with me. She was just my buddy. Like she just loved spending time with us, and she loved to go out hiking with him, and like she was always up for anything.
Yeah.
And didn't want to be on her own. She wanted to be with you. So I mean, I called her my barnacle because she just followed me everywhere.
Yeah.
But it made everything so much fun and made it seem like it had a purpose. And when you think you have so many more years of that and then it's just gone, it's just like, what the hell? Like what, everything's so weird and lonely.
Yeah. Like I think that's the reality that's really setting in for me at this point is, you know, all of what I thought I was going to have for another 8 years is gone.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do. Like I had, you know, in my mind, I had 8 years of this is going to be my life. And I didn't, you know, I'm not a planner. I'll tell you, I wing everything. And you know, so my goal was just to have a place for the kids to go and to hang out with Libs for the next 8 years. Cause you know, at that point we only had Grayson for another year in high school, and Max would be off college doing who knows what, wherever. But I always assumed the boys would stay with you because you had the bigger house, and I would just get Libby on the weekends, and maybe the boys would show up for a dinner or something like that.
Yeah. And now I've got a tiny house.
Yeah.
No more big house.
Yeah, it's life is just not what we expected, and I think that's where that second year comes in. It's just reality. You know, that again, I kind of go back to a new relationship where it's all new, and you're going through all these new events, and then it's just settling into life, and it's not what that first year was. It's reality now. Like this is real.
Yeah. I think for me, because I was still in that same house, you know, that Libby had lived with me in. And she lived with me full time, and then saw David Wednesday evenings and then every other weekend. So the majority of the time she was with me, and because she lived in that house, I had so many memories in that house. So then all of like the birthdays and holidays and all that kind of stuff that happened still in that house were, I think that first year a little bit harder for me. But then, like you said, this second year is it's just different. It's so different that is what's making it so hard for me, because now I live by myself in my tiny house. And it's like, do I even bother decorating for Christmas? Like, no one's going to see it, you know? And before, it was all about the kids. Like, I loved holidays. I mean, you know, like I always have been like a holiday guru and go all out with the holidays and, you know, do probably too much. And now it's just like, is there a point to any of that?
Yeah, and it's got to be a little harder even for you too, because not only have you lost Libby, but you've lost your mom as well, which she was, you know, again, you go back to some of the family traditions that we had, you know, Thanksgiving dinner, and where we did Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas and your mom's Christmas Eve party. Like all of those things are ending.
It's all gone now. Like this year it's all gone.
And like
everything is different.
Like I don't even know what to do. Like my family's going Thanksgiving somewhere else. You guys are going to Thanksgiving somewhere else. So I'm just going to be chilling at home on Thanksgiving by myself. And it's a very weird thing. It's not.
Is it?
No. So,
well, no,
that's not what that's not what I'm saying. That's the new reality. The new reality is weird. This is no longer. I don't have those things anymore. And I miss them. Don't get me wrong. I miss them very much. It's just, it's weird. It's weird. And it's hitting home that, you know, I assume I know you're feeling it as much as you may not want to admit how much you're feeling it. This is very, very different for you. You have never lived by yourself. So
I freely admit.
Yeah, this is something I know you are definitely struggling with, as much as you don't want to admit how much it is. I think you're enjoying certain aspects of it.
Yeah.
But I can tell just in our conversations.
Well, because it's like you said with the expectations. My entire life, I expected to have a big family.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like when we got married and all those years that we were together, it was like we were gonna grow old with our 3 kids and live in a house together, and I was gonna make all the holiday dinners and get a giant Christmas tree and decorate like Martha Stewart, and like that's who I was. That was my role. Like that was what I wanted for my future, and now none of that exists. So it's having to figure out who I am and what my role is now and what I'm gonna do. And yeah, like you said, like no, all of this year, every single tradition that I've ever done is gone. Like
you really don't even have room to put a
no,
tree
we can't do any of the same stuff. And even like I said, even if I put up a tree, I would probably get a small one, but it's not gonna be the same. And no one's gonna see it but me. So kind of like who cares? You know what I mean? It's just a like it's a lot of those kind of what's the point moments. So I told him that we had to go get a tree and put it at his house so that I can come and visit your tree.
I would have gotten a tree regardless.
But, I know.
But you're right. It's not the same. I mean, it's just not, it's just all, last Christmas, we had it really in our head of how bad it was going to be. And I think we made it worse than it was initially. I think we thought it was going to be this really horrific event, and it was. Don't get me wrong; it was terrible, but it wasn't. I don't think as bad as I thought it was going to be. I think this year is going to be absolutely. I think it's going to be as bad as we thought it was going to be last year. In my mind, I think it is.
Great.
Yeah, I know. Merry freaking Christmas.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
We tried, is that last year for Thanksgiving? We tried going away. Because that was the philosophy the first year. We're like, we just knew everything was going to suck. So we tried to prepare in advance and be like, okay, let's just do different things because nothing is going to be the same without Libby. So like for Thanksgiving, we went to the Poconos. And it was just different. Like it just wasn't. It was just like, this is traveling with 2 teenage boys.
Yeah.
I don't really want to hang out with you all that much. So yeah, that was just different. But I think this is, you're right. This is the first year that we're both kind of settled in our new places, and now it's like, all right, well, I guess this is the suckiness that is. Going to be forever. Like it's just not going to be the same anymore, and this is what it is now. So I am still going to, like, since the boys don't come over here early, we said we're still doing stockings, right? They said they still want to do stockings.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna make stockings because they love my stockings. So I'm gonna do the stockings for the boys, and we'll still do the tree.
It's just gonna be
I'll make dinner. I mean,
No, I think
I'll make Christmas dinner.
It is what it is. We're gonna find out.
Yeah,
that's really where we're at. Is
there's just always that sense of something missing. There's always that. I mean, you can plan for the best, but nothing takes away that hole in your heart.
No.
From her not being there.
No.
So I think it's like everything that I just tell my grievers and the people that I'm helping, like it's not that the pain ever goes away, and it's not that the pain ever gets easier. It's that you adjust to living with the pain, and you get used to it, and you kind of grow around that pain. And that is, that's what you do.
It's I think.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Deanne, thanks. Here, we'll see if I can. So Deanne says, just love you two doing this together. My former spouse and I worked hard to co-parent. Also, kudos. Thank you for the transparency. You are very welcome. Yeah, we definitely had our issues and it took a little work to get us here, but like I said, we just always put the kids first. And now that the kids are grown and Libby is gone, I tell people all the time, like, because people will say that, like, isn't it weird, like, hanging out with your ex-husband? And I'm kind of like, no, because we're the only people that truly understand what it is like to have lost Libby.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, and I think that's the key. It's not to lose a person or a child. It's Libby. And I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Is you have your relationship with the person you lost is what dictates how your loss and grief goes. And I say it to Brooke all the time. I definitely think that it's harder for you because of her being the barnacle. I unfortunately, because of my stupidity early on of working way too much and not being there as much as I should have for all three of the kids. But, after the divorce, you obviously had every single day with them and you had Libby there every single day. And I didn't get that. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I didn't have a great relationship with Libby.
Oh my God, you had an amazing
my relationship with Libby was very different than your relationship. And so our grief is very different in some of the things that we do and how we feel and certain triggers that each of us have. But I definitely know how much she meant to you in a house full of all boys, with us. And then with your second marriage, bringing in a husband and a stepson, it was just 4 boys and 2 girls. And she was,
we would
she
sit
was
at the dinner table.
Your anchor.
She was my life. Honestly, she really was. And always was from the time we found out we were having a girl. Like, we'd sit at the dinner table when I was with my second husband, and when everybody would be there at the table, and she and I would sit at the end next to each other and literally just have our own conversations, because all the boys would be talking about video games or like, some sort of movie thing that we didn't get. We had no idea what they were talking about. So we'd always just be like, so Libs, how are you doing? And we would just have our own conversations. It was like our own little world,
But we, when we talk about certain things, like for you right now, you're struggling with teaching because you have so many of the students that Libby would be, that were her friends are in the middle school now.
Yeah.
And you have them coming up or saying hi, and you're trying to navigate that whole thing. And when we have those conversations, you're like, oh, do you remember such and such? Well, that wasn't something that Libby and I talked about a lot. We didn't talk about her classmates nearly as much as you guys did. We talk a lot more about music and just life, I think. Not that you guys didn't talk about life, but that was our conversations. We just talked about like, what we were feeling, what we were thinking. Like she would bring up just things about school, but I think you heard it, because you picked her up every day. She came to the school. You heard, here's how my day was.
I got that every day, and like single day. Picking up every day from dance, hearing about dance friends, and and now they are all in my middle school, where every single day, which is why that's my second year struggle, like along with all the stuff that we already talked about. It's Libby should be in the middle school this year where I work, and seeing all of her friends and classmates there every day when she's not there, it has been so hard. Like on one hand, I love the fact that I have so many of her friends coming up to me and giving me hugs, and it's Libby's mom, like every single day as I walk in and out of the building, it's Libby's mom. And it's like, but it's every single day. Like I'm grateful, but then it's just like, oh, like every day.
So you had that not only with the students, but like you
Yeah.
said, the dance family as well.
Yeah.
You know, I was not nearly as involved on a day-to-day basis with the dance family stuff. So you have a much different relationship and know a lot of the girls on a more detailed basis. I heard names and I heard stories, but I didn't get the everyday picking up from
Yeah, but you guys
practice.
had all the adventures.
No, we did. We didn't. Don't. That's kind of my point. My point is that we had a very different relationship, and it's not. I am aware of what you're going through, and I try and keep tabs on that kind of stuff and the things that might be triggering you. And yeah, we definitely, you know, I still can't listen to music. I struggle listening to any music whatsoever.
Nope.
It's nearly impossible for me to enjoy it. And I used to love music, singing in the car, all that stuff. Can't do it.
All the time. I can't listen to Hamilton.
I did early on. I would, it was almost a connection. I would listen to Hamilton. I would listen to Greatest Showman. You know, the things that we enjoyed together, a lot of the Disney movie, Encanto.
Yeah.
You know, that was right before she passed. Was, you know, she was huge into the Encanto soundtrack and listening to that, and I did early on. I listened to it, and it was almost like it was a helpful thing at that time. But now I can't. I can't listen to anything. It's rare that I turn music on, and if I do, inevitably a song comes up that she and I used to listen to, and it just freaking wipes me out.
Yeah.
And I can't do it, and it sucks because, like I said, I love
It was
music.
such a big part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, when we were driving, that's all we did was sing and have a great time, and yeah, I haven't been able to do that. So, you know, it's like yesterday was a good example. You know, I went hiking with a couple of friends, and we went on a trail that was one that the kids and I had done several times, and it's a beautiful trail. But you know, at one point, my friend asked me, like, you know, how does this affect you? You know, because this was something you did with Libby, and you know, I almost the whole time, as soon as I got there, I had Libby with me. I take her on most places I go. That's not work, but you know, I was just in my pocket the whole time, just rubbing my stone. And
these are stone. We had stones made out of Libby's ashes, and we carry them with us.
Mine's very dirty right now.
It is very dirty.
I should give her a bath.
You should.
She needs a bath, but you know, and it was funny because at the time that my friend asked me about it, you know, I was holding. I had Libby out of my pocket. I was holding her, and I was actually thinking about her because I was like, I remember, you know, it's funny when we go on certain trails that we used to do, I can remember certain conversations or certain things that we did at that time. And it's helpful, but at the same time, it's painful too to not have her there. So.
I don't know how long we're going to go. We're almost at 45 minutes yet. Kim says, I wish I could give you guys a big old hug. Thank you, Kim. We'll hug you back.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah. I don't know. Second year is definitely, for me, it definitely is ringing true with, you know, that idea. I don't know. And I feel like I am regressing in my grief a little bit. I have been struggling for probably a good 2 months now.
We need to work on that. The holidays aren't going to help.
No, the holidays aren't helping. And like I said, the house is, you know, really hitting me hard as well. And, you know, just moving on, I guess, is one thing that I'm kind of struggling with. Is I kind of don't want to do it, you know. But yeah.
Well, that's normal.
I know. I know. It just sucks. I
Might
do
not be
feel like
ready
I'm
yet.
going backwards. I do feel, one of the things that I really struggled with early on was being able to wholly be up in my mind and visually be able to bring up a memory or something like that. Um, and it got better. I was able to kind of have those memories and not break down all the time. And my mind is going back to a place where I can't pull it up.
Drink your dirty water.
Yeah, I think it's the mind blocking some of
Yeah,
the
you're
pain and trying to stop me from
you're
getting
in
there.
survival mode.
Yeah,
You need to feel that shit.
I know. And I try, and
This is good. Get it out.
I know it is.
Get it out. Talking is good.
It's like
Talking to the random strangers on the internet.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, I go in waves, and I have moments where I just completely break down like once a week, but otherwise I do struggle with certain things. I have to force myself to look at pictures to bring up the memories, but once I start looking at the pictures, then it just all floods back.
Yeah.
And it releases it.
So do you, like, when you said once a week you break down in tears, is that like random? Is it something that hits you that makes you cry, or is it one of those times where you do start looking consciously at stuff? Because that's what I do. I almost block out stuff, and then
you have a set
like
time.
I can't go. I've stopped going on my personal social media. I still go on my professional social media, but my personal social media, I'm barely on there anymore because it's so hard for me. Because I'm friends with so many of Libby's friends and their parents, and it's just constant posts of like, this is what my girls are doing, and this is what Libby's friends are doing, and all these things that they're getting to do that she's not getting to do. And it's just so many reminders that I kind of just avoid that when I can, or just scroll really fast through everything if I do get on there for some sort of reason. And I'll find myself even like, like the memories will pop up and Google Photos, and the majority of the time I will be like, nope. I'll close everything and I won't look at it. But then I will have like one day of the week, usually it's Sunday evenings, where I just pull it all up and I look at everything, and then I just cry and sob while I'm looking at all of that stuff. But it's like a set time.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I tell people, it like builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and then you feel like you've got to release it. Like you have to release it, or else you're just going to go nuts.
Yeah.
And then it kind of starts all over.
Yeah, and I don't have a set time, but that's very much what happens.
Yeah.
Something builds up, or like, Friday night I was looking up where my friends and I wanted to go hiking, and I was trying to find the name of that trail. And of course I pulled that up and then realized that I've got all these pictures from us walking that trail, and the memories just started going, and then I also found the last hike, that we did. The last hike we did before she passed, which was, maybe a week and a half before she passed. And that was the one that just freaking tipped me over the edge. And
I got this one this morning
on the trampoline.
This was the 6 years ago. I don't know if you can see that. My ring light in there. That looks terrible. But yeah, this popped up in my photos, and it was like a whole video, and it came up with a video of me like recording her doing back bends, and she's giggling and laughing, and I'm like, good job. And I'm like, oh, I just miss that so much.
Yeah.
Jess says, love you. Hope this helps not only your healing, but the healing of others in the same awful boat you're in. Oh, thank you, Jess. Love you. You keep me sane at work. So thank you.
Yep.
All right. We're at 50 minutes. You guys heard enough. Does anyone have any questions or anything for us? Or is there anything else you want to throw out about second year stuff?
No. Not really.
For me, the verdict's out. I wouldn't say that it's worse. I would say that it's different.
Yeah, I think it's a reality now. I think that's the
Yeah.
best way to describe it. It's the new reality, and it's very much setting in, and it sucks.
We'll call each other. Like I said, we're like each other's biggest support system. So I can just call him and be like, oh, having a terrible Libby day today. And he knows exactly what I mean. And, you know, will just listen to me vent about what happened. And I totally forget where I was going with that.
Yeah.
But
It's about how our brains work.
I know it is grief brain. But yeah, I'll just call you and you get it. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, you know, I appreciate the fact that we have each other. It's nice to have, you know, again, you go back to how we decided to co-parent together and the relationship that created. It's helped us. You know, you hear a lot about people who lose children that end up getting divorced because they can't deal with whatever it is. We very much, for us, it was luckily the opposite. We had a good relationship prior to it, and it's only been strengthened by the fact that, you know, we have each other to kind of talk through when we're struggling, and it's important.
I remembered where I was going.
Oh, okay. Go ahead before you forget.
I know, before I forget again, I remembered. So I was going to say we call each other and we're each other's support systems. And it's funny because I feel like the thing that we've been saying the most is after like a long day, we'll just text the other one or call the other one every now and then and be like, so guess this is my life. Like, so this is my life now. All right. And it's just that sinking in of like, suppose this is what it is.
Yeah.
For me, it's a mix because I love what I'm doing with, you know, my grief work and my book and all of these things that I've always wanted to do that I enjoy doing. And then I guess that's kind of like my house. Yeah. It's like the house for you is all of this work for me. It's like I wouldn't get to do any of this if I hadn't lost Libs.
Right.
And that sucks, but I just choose to look at it like she's still making me happy. She's still giving me gifts, even though she's not here. You know?
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I do that at
so
times.
I thank her. Like, thank you.
It is a gift. She is taking care of us, but I'd sure as hell like to have her back instead.
No kidding. True dat.
Yeah.
True dat. All right. Well,
just remember to hug your kids, people.
Hug your children.
You never know what.
Everyone that you love.
Happen. Yeah. Stay.
You know. Tell people that you love them all the time.
And going to the men out there, it's okay to show emotion. It's healthy to show emotion. We don't need to be this man who doesn't show emotion, doesn't cry, doesn't do any of that stuff. It's healthy for other people to know how you feel about them truly. It's something that I am, you know, I try and always tell my boys I love them all the time. I tell my mom and my dad. I do it a lot more now than I did, and not with the kids, but with my family, my brother, sister. You know, I really didn't say that kind of stuff to them as much in the past, and I do every time now because it's important. It's important that people understand how you feel about them because you never know. You never know when they're going to be gone.
Absolutely.
So.
All right. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Cheers.
Cool.
Cheers to the first episode of Mourning Coffee. So like I said, I'm going to be trying to make this a weekly thing, ? Maybe every other week. We'll see how it goes. But if you enjoyed this, let me know. If there are any topics you want me to talk about or any people you want me to talk to, I'm sure I will drag your butt back here every now and then to check in. So thank you for doing this.
Well,
I think it's so important for people to see men talking about this stuff.
I think it is too. I think it's, again, society just is, we've built this idea that men aren't allowed to show emotion. And there is a lot of stuff out there in social media now talking about men and being able to express your feelings and how important it is, and how we tend to bottle things up, all the stresses that we have in life. Like, we're not allowed to show weakness. And, we're all human, and we all feel the stresses of life, whether it's work stuff going on or family stuff that you're struggling with. It's all important to kind of get out for men. And again, big crybaby here, so I cry all the time.
Yeah, you are.
And, stupid commercials and whatever else, but it's okay.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
That's a good thing.
It is okay.
All right, we're rambling again.
Rambling.
We're rambling.
Awesome.
Take us out with some music. Oh, jam. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.